So today we are doing some baking. As I'm sure you guys have realized, we're going to be doing strawberry rhubarb crumb bars. So for this, the first thing that we want to do is just preheat our oven. So we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. So once everyone has that done, just give me a quick thumbs up and we'll go through the rest of the steps and we'll get started. All right, looks like everyone's good. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to want to do, we're going to use a 9x9 baking pan. If you don't have this size, you can use whatever size you have, but we're just going to line it with some parchment paper. If you want to grease it as well, you can. I'm probably just going to do the paper, but if you want to grease it as well, that's totally fine too. So I'm just sticking it in there. It's not gonna stay down fully until we put stuff in there, but I just have it in there for now, so it's ready for when we have to start putting some stuff in there. All right, are everyone's pans lined? Okay, awesome. So the first thing that we're gonna start to work on is the crumb part of the recipe. So we're gonna need a large mixing bowl. And the first thing that we're going to measure for this is 1 1/3 cup of flour. And I believe in other baking classes, I've always mentioned this, so I will mention it again. Whenever you're measuring dry ingredients, especially for baking, because baking is really specific, you always kind of want to scoop into your measuring device rather than using it to scoop. That way, you're not over stuffing this. So I have my measuring cup here. So what I'm going to do is I have a spoon. I'm going to use that to fill my measuring cup rather than scooping with my measuring cup. Because sometimes if you scoop with a measuring cup like that, you'll end up taking some extra flour, whatever it is that you're measuring, and it might change the way the recipe cooks. So this is just something that I like to do. But the last one I'll do over the container. And then once it's full, I'll bring this down here so you guys can see. I just take the back of a knife and slide it across so it's nice and level, just like that. Then I'm just gonna put that into our bowl. So that was my 1 cup, and then we also need a 1/3 cup. So we need 1 1/3 cups total. So I'm just gonna do the same thing with my 1/3 cup measurement. All right, so I've got all my flour in my bowl. Once everyone has got your flour measured, give me a thumbs up and we'll move on to the next ingredient. All right, I see Jonathan's ready, Hope's ready. Julie, okay, looks like everyone's good. So the next ingredient we're going to measure is baking soda. So we need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So for this, since it's such a small measurement, I am just going to scoop with the teaspoon. So I'll just fluff it up a little bit and then just grab some. Again, use the back of a knife to level it or any other sort of flat tool. just like that. And put that in there as well. All right, and then does everyone have their baking soda in too? Perfect. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is a 4th teaspoon of salt. So pretty much the same thing we've been doing. I just have my salt here. Just like that. So now we've got flour, baking soda, and salt in our mixing bowl. And then once you guys have all of that in there, you can just take a whisk and just quickly mix it all around so it's pretty combined and there's not a little pile of baking soda and a little pile of salt. Nothing crazy, just to make sure it's all together. It all looks like one mixture. So once you've got your salt in and you've whisked a little bit, give me another thumbs up and we will go on to the next step. All right, is everyone all set? Perfect. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to measure and add to the same bowl, we're going to do our rolled oats. So we also need 1 1/3 cup of rolled oats. So I'm going to pour some in here. We got that. We got our 1 cup. And we've got our 1/3 cup. And with the oats, I didn't need to measure it and be as specific because it's not powder wheat the way that flour is. So it can be a little more or a little less exact. All right. Once you guys have your oats in, just give me another thumbs up. We will go on to our next crust ingredient. Looks like everyone's good. Awesome. So now we're going to do a 1/2 cup of packed light brown sugar. So what that means, we're going to get our 1/2 cup ready. And it's calling for packed light brown sugar because with brown sugar, if you stuff it in, it'll form and get a little clumpy. So I'm going to pour some in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back of my spoon. I'm going to push down, pack it in because it's leaving some room for more. I grab what's on my cutting board. And then I'm just going to do that until this 1/2 cup is full after we've packed the sugar down. All right, so that looks pretty good. I've got it filled to the top, all packed down. So I'm gonna put that into our mixing bowl. You might need to pat it on the back to get it out. All right, and then we have one more ingredient. Does everyone have all of their light brown sugar in there? We're all good? Okay, so then we have to do the same amount of regular sugar. So regular sugar, I'm going to do the same way that I did the flour. I'm gonna use my spoon to scoop and then level with the knife.
How much regular sugar?
A half cup.
Thank you.
Welcome. So I'm just using my spoon, scoop it in. Once it looks like it could be pretty full, I'm gonna move it on top of my container and use the knife to level it over so I don't lose the rest. And then I'm gonna put that into our mixing bowl as well. All right, so that should be all of our crumb bar ingredients. Does everyone have everything in your bowl? All right, so we're just gonna do another whisk to break all of this down. Like my brown sugar's in a clump here, so we want everything to look nice and even in the mixture. So I'm just gonna whisk it up again. If you see some clumps of brown sugar forming, you can just lightly tap them to break them up. I see I got a big clump right here. There we go. All right, that looks pretty good. So I can see I've got no clumps. There's oats and flour and everything evenly throughout. So that's exactly what we want it to look like. Just whip this off quick. All right, so once everyone is all set whisking, give me another thumbs up. Looks like everyone's good. Awesome. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to melt our butter. So we need 3/4 of a cup or 1.5 sticks of butter. So you make sure you have a microwave safe bowl. So I have a double stick here that I cut to be the right size. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut my butter into smaller cubes. That way it should melt a little bit quicker. Then I'm just gonna put all those cubes into a bowl. And for anyone who's just joining us, we are on step 7. We are cutting up our butter to melt it in the microwave. So once you have your butter cut up, I'm just gonna put this in the microwave. We're gonna do it in 30-second increments. That way, every 30 seconds, we can take it out, stir it a little bit and see how much more it needs. So I'm just gonna put this in for 30 seconds. All right, so this is what mine looks like after 30 seconds. I'm gonna give it a little stir quick. You can see stirring it helps to melt it too. So I feel like another 30 seconds and this should be good for me.
What should we stir the butter with?
You could use anything. I'm just using my knife I have. That I was using. You could use a spoon, a knife, a whisk, whatever you have.
Okay.
Can I just ask, we didn't get the recipe this time around and we were sadly a couple minutes late. Were we supposed to preheat the oven at all?
Yes, 350, and I can send a copy of the
Okay,
in here now, so you guys have that to go off of.
that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Let me get the link. All right, I just sent the link. Let me know if you can open it. And then we should be good.
That's great. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so I just took my butter out again and it's fully melted now. Does anyone need any more time to melt their butter or are we all good? Okay, perfect. So before we do anything with this butter, we're going to measure and add 2 teaspoons of vanilla and pour it into the butter. So I'm just gonna do it right over the butter. And then just stir that in together quick. So it's gonna make that mixture look a little bit darker. And then once everyone has your vanilla poured in, give me another thumbs up. Okay, looks like everyone's all good. So we're gonna pour the melted butter into our oat mixture. And then we're gonna stir it so that everything is evenly incorporated. So I'm gonna take my butter and just pour it right over. And then I'm just gonna use a spatula, mix that all up. You can see now it's becoming more of like a doughy kind of texture. You want to make sure if you get anything stuck on the sides, you want to scrape that off too. You want no powdery bits left. So just like that. So this is what you want your mixture to look like. The butter kind of soaked up all of the flour and the sugar, and we have nothing powdery looking left. So that's exactly what we want it to look like. If we press it down, it'll like clump together. All right, so once everyone is done mixing, just give me another thumbs up. We'll move on to the next step. Does anyone need any more time with their crumb? Okay, looks like we're all good. So now we're gonna take our pan that we lined. We're gonna press about 2/3 of the mixture into the pan. We're gonna save some left to put on top. So I'm just gonna eyeball it at first, just get some in there. Good. And then, like I said, if you press on it, it'll clump together. So I'm gonna use the back of my spatula to press it down into the pan so it makes a nice crust layer. So then once that's all done, you'll have a nice flat, even layer of crust. Just like that. And then the rest we are going to keep aside for now, and we can sprinkle it on the top after we've put our fruit layer in. So once everyone has got their crust in there, we can move on to the fruit. Just give me another thumbs up and we can go on to the next part. Looks like almost everyone's good. If anyone needs any more time, just let me know. Okay, looks like everyone's good. So we're gonna set that pan aside for now. We're going to start by dicing our strawberries. So I'm gonna have another bowl handy that I can put this into. And we needed 1 3/4 of a cup of diced strawberries. So that's probably equal to about a standard size strawberry container. So I'm just gonna dice those up. You don't obviously want the leaves in there, so we'll cut that part off as well. So I'm just gonna pull back the leaves, chop off that top part, and then I'm gonna stand the strawberry up and cut it down the middle, turn it down the middle again. So we've got 4 pieces, and then I'm gonna take those and then do that in 2. So then 2 more cuts. So then we've got some nice dices there. You can kind of make them as big or small as you want. But I feel like this is a pretty good size to go with. So I'll do that one more time on the next strawberry. So I'm pulling back the leaves, slicing off the top, and I'm standing my strawberry up so the point is facing up. I'm gonna slice down the middle. I'm gonna turn it again, or turn it and then slice down the middle again. So now I've got my 4 quarters. I'm gonna take 2 of those, lay them down, and then do 1, 2. So we've got some nice dices, and then do the same thing. And I'm just gonna do those with all of my strawberries. You have some smaller strawberries too, you can do less cuts. Like this one's pretty small, so I'll probably just only cut that in quarters. Maybe I'll cut this once. So that way it's kind of the same size as everything else. If for some reason you weren't able to find any rhubarb, I know not every store has it. I was able to find it at Whole Foods. But if you couldn't find it, you can always just double the strawberries and do only strawberries. You could substitute for another berry. The recipe is it's a pretty like standard recipe to make any kind of crumb bar. So you can pretty much, if you like these and you want to make them again, you could pretty much substitute for any type of fruit. Same amounts. But I know strawberry and rhubarb together is a very popular spring, summer flavor. I'm getting to my last few strawberries here.
Wait, can we use apples instead of rhubarbs?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Where are we putting the strawberries?
So I have another bowl right off to the side that I'm throwing my strawberries in. So right now that bowl only has those strawberries. Okay, I got one more strawberry left. All right, so let me just get rid of these stems. All right, how is everyone doing on their strawberries? Does anyone need any more time cutting, or are we all good? All right, looks like everyone is good. So the next thing that we're gonna work on is cutting the rhubarb. If you are using a different fruit, you just wanna make sure that you cut them to be pretty much the same size as those strawberries, that's all. So that's the only thing that will be different for this instruction. So this rhubarb that I have, it kind of looks like celery. So I'm gonna cut it the way that I would cut celery. So I'm just gonna chop the edges off first. And then I'm gonna cut it into a few smaller pieces so it's easier to work with. And we need the same amount of rhubarb as strawberry, I'm pretty sure. I think it was 1.5 cups. Okay, so slightly less. So I'm gonna do 2 pieces of rhubarb and that should be good. And we want them to be around the same size as the strawberry. So I'm gonna take my rhubarb. I'm gonna cut a few slices. I just did 4. That looks like it's pretty even. And then I'm just gonna dice those to make cubes the same as the strawberries. And then we're gonna add those into the bowl, same thing. So again, I'm taking my little section of rhubarb. I'm gonna do 1 slice, 2 slice, 3 slice. That gives me 4 sticks. And then I'm just gonna chop those down. And then I'm just gonna do that with 2 pieces of rhubarb. This is actually aside from testing the recipe, this is my first time using rhubarb. I've always heard very good things about it, but I've never actually cooked with it until this recipe. So that is exciting for me. I've always wanted to try it, try using it. I've had it before. I think I might do a little end of my last piece that I bought. And then I think I'll be good. Perfect. All right, so now in my bowl, I've got strawberry and rhubarb. Just gonna get rid of those last pieces. All right, and then once everyone has their strawberry and rhubarb cut, just give me another thumbs up. Does anyone need any more time chopping or are we all set? Okay, looks like we're all good. So then the next thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna juice 1 lemon. So I'm gonna roll it out on my cutting board first. That's just gonna help release those juices. Then I'm just going to juice it into a small container so we can measure what we need. So I'm just gonna squeeze both halves. That way I can also remove the seeds. All right, so I juice both of those. I'm just gonna take all those seeds out and throw those out so that way they don't accidentally get into our mixture. All right, so I have that juice. And then once again, lemon is juiced, just shoot me a thumbs up and we will.
Wait. How much lemon juice?
So we juiced a whole lemon. And then our next step is we're gonna measure out how much we need.
Okay.
So now we have our lemon juice here. So we need 1 tablespoon. So then from there, we'll measure 1 tablespoon of juice. And we're gonna add that to our fruit. So I'm just gonna take this out here. I've got my 1 tablespoon and then I'm just gonna pour it over my fruit. And then I'm just gonna, got stuff. Then I'm just gonna toss that through so that all the fruit is covered with the lemon juice. Might have to put that in a bigger bowl.
A teaspoon or a tablespoon of the lemon
1 tablespoon.
tablespoon.
And then once you've added your lemon juice, just give me another thumbs up. I see everyone. Okay. So now we're just gonna take another small bowl and we need to add a 1/3 cup of regular sugar to that bowl. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did earlier to measure that. I'm gonna scoop the sugar into my measuring cup. And then I'm gonna level it off on top. right, so we have 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Does everyone have that measured? Okay, perfect. So then the next thing is going to be 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And we're going to measure that and add that into the same bowl that we just put the sugar in. So I'm just going to level my cornstarch back into the container. And then tap that right into the sugar. And then with these two, we just gonna, again, we want to whisk it so that they're combined. And it looks like one mixture. Just like that. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get a little bit of a bigger bowl. Because I think my fruit is gonna spill once we start to mix it. So I'm just putting my fruit into a bigger bowl, so there's some more space in there. All right, so does everyone have their sugar and cornstarch mixed together? Perfect. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we are going to add the sugar mixture into the fruit, and then we're gonna toss that around so that all of the fruit is coated in that sugar and cornstarch. And what the cornstarch does here is as this cooks, it'll help because the sugar is going to break down the fruit and then it's going to get a little bit liquidy, but the cornstarch will help it become more like a jelly consistency rather than just pure fruit juice. So then that way, once your bars are done, they'll come out and they'll have a nice jelly-like fruit layer. So we're just going to combine them like this, and you can see once all your fruit is coated, it looks like it has you could see like the sugar coating it. Kind of looks like a pie filling almost. So once you can't see any more bright white spots, you should be all good just like that. All right, is everyone ready to pour into our pan? Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna take our crumb. Let's place that in front of us. Here, let me move. My cutting board's pretty dirty, so I'm gonna get out of the way. That way, clean work surface. Okay, we're gonna have our crumb right in front of us, and then we're gonna take our fruit, pour that right on top of the crumb. And just make sure it's evenly spread. And I know now, at least with mine too, it looks like there's a lot of fruit, but as it bakes, it'll break down too, so it won't be as thick as it looks like it is right now. Just gonna scrape what I can off the sides of my bowl. Just like that. And then last time, once you guys have your fruit in, just give me one more thumbs up and we will do our last step before you can throw them in the oven. I see Jonathan's, that looks really good. So now we're gonna take our last bit of crumb that we have left over, either with your spatula or if you want to do it with your hands, you can just sprinkle it on top. The rest of what's left. Make an even layer. And kind of get rid of any clumps if there are any. Perfect. All right, so now these are ready to go into the oven. Before we do that, I would love to take a picture with you all, since we will not be together once they're out of the oven, and they do look very pretty beforehand. So I would love to take a picture with you guys before we put our bars in the oven. So if anyone does want to be in the picture, feel free to grab your bars. And let me get this set up. All right. I'm going to count us down. 3, 2, 1, smile. Perfect. Okay, so these are going to go in the oven, and then we're going to set a timer for 45 minutes at first. After that goes off, you can check it and see if it needs another 5 minutes. You want it to, you want the filling to be bubbling, and then you want the crumb on top to be nice and golden brown. So I'm setting a 45-minute timer. And then once that goes off, like I said, you can always check it. If it needs a few more minutes, you can give it a few more minutes. Are there any other questions before we log off for today?
That was fun.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
It
Like
was so much fun.
Like I said in the beginning, the next class will be June 23rd. So keep out an eye for emails for those. Other than that, everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. It looks beautiful out near me, so maybe get some sun. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.